Well, welcome to Cover 2 TV. I'm Chris Pajak. I'm joined, of course, by Steve Hoare and a much better looking Tom Jennings. But it's not Tom Jennings, it's Jonathan Higgins. And we've really just decided to bring Jonathan in because you can see.
Okay. And Geno can't.
Geno, he's not a seer, is he?
Don't really have much of the bar to raise here, you know. I've passed the test, have I?
that's what it is. Geno's he'll be back soon. He's just
busy. He's got a life.
He's got stuff, life and jobs.
Terrible job.
He's got a ridiculously awful job, but that's keeping him away. That's keeping him away from us now. So
it's probably best for him. Okay, so we'll start with the 4 games we're going to cover. We're going to cover obviously the Minnesota Vikings playing Cleveland Browns at Twickenham. We're going to cover Houston versus Seattle, Pittsburgh, Detroit, and Dallas, Washington. So we'll start with Minnesota, Cleveland, and I am going to start with you, Steve, because you got to see that mighty Vikings D.
It was a very impressive purple D, Chris. That's what I saw live.
You got a little bit of that later on as well.
It's just amazing every time you go to one of these games how different it is compared to the TV and stuff, and how faster it looks in person. The sound of the, even like a 1 yard run just sounds like an absolute car crash and stuff. It's fantastic, and I thought it was we said after the game, albeit quite drunkenly, when we released our
video.
We released our instant reactions where. Yeah, you looked very much like Eminem in 8 Mile.
It's just the biggest wee. I'm so happy.
I'm so drunk.
Mine looked like
still are.
Mine looked like an advert for Budweiser. Just on the
bottom.
Twickenham Bud.
You got the camera semi in focus. You're kind of like.
It is.
Football is great.
It is what it was. But from what I've gone back and watched the game again. Obviously ahead of the show and stuff, and it was a competitive game up until I think
middle of the third, maybe is what I remember.
Yeah, between half time and the middle of the third, where that's when the class wins. So in close games, class eventually out, and that's what happened. Like Cleveland made just a couple of stupid mistakes. The Vikings played solid, if not spectacular football, and in the end, like I say, 33-16, I think flatters the Vikings a little bit, but the better team won by a mile.
Yeah, what did you make of it, Steve? Jonathan, sorry.
Well, I was still in stitches laughing from your outro from the last video, so I can only imagine the banter and the grief that you were getting, poor Chris, from the first touchdown when Keelan was.
I had a flag in his face.
I can imagine Aaron Rodgers was pretty much dry humping him pretty much there.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
How am I surprised?
And Steve's there with passes that flag, mate.
Right. Here we go.
It didn't have a stick until you broke it.
Yeah. Well, I got annoyed with the flag. So Steve's just waving this in my face all game. Every time he done so, and then he went 2 plays, 37 yards it was, wasn't it?
And then you broke my flag.
And he's just like,
he literally snapped my flag on
and threw it.
I can just imagine the rage. Like you needed a fan reaction cam just for that. And I think that added to afterwards when you fast forward to after the game. He's like, yes, I love football. Vikings are great.
It wasn't like that at half time.
No. It was weird. It was a game that they didn't expect to be so close and so competitive. But the Vikings, you really had to grind it out, and it was great as a neutral watcher, and I was in stitches laughing thinking the way that you guys were slagging back and forth. But yeah, no, look, the more the better team, and maybe the scoreline flatters, but you definitely deserved the victory. You were a hell of a lot more quality on the pitch.
It's mad when you play a bad team. If you play fundamentally good football, it'll eventually work. And I know that the early pick and stuff, which wasn't great offense, but other than that, defensively they kind of just did their jobs, didn't they? There was very few big plays. I think Xavier Rose got beaten once, which was a surprise. But other than that, there was nothing. And in the end, the Browns kind of shoot themselves in the foot. So, a muffed punt, you can't have that. Yeah. If you're a bad team, you just can't do that. And then I think Crowell has a fumble later on and stuff. And that's the difference. Good teams will just punish you if you make those type of mistakes.
Griffin gets another sack as well.
He's clearly auditioning for a job in Saxonville, isn't he? He's getting his one again. Don't think I wasn't going to go by with getting a dig in. It might have been bye week, but I'm still going to get a dig in. But yeah, no, he got a customary sack. And Thielen, he was just out of this world. And that celebration was just...
Didn't he slide? That was quite close to us. It was
really, yeah. I can just imagine the flag might have been waved in the other direction.
He was telling me to shove the flag.
Yeah. Do you see that? That's what you do. Like
I can't remember.
And he was wide open. He was absolutely.
Yeah, he was.
He was in the back end.
He just sat in the corner. Yeah, it was like hit him. Okay, then slide.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And listen, on the Vikings defense, Smith was absolutely outstanding again. Yeah. Kendricks is another way.
I've never really paid much attention to Kendricks when I'm watching on TV. I always look at Barr and Griffin and Smith and stuff. And you were saying that's Kendricks again. He's great. And I'll be honest, I've just never really paid attention. You don't really pay attention to inside linebackers really, and unless they're like the Luke Kuechly's of the world or whatever. But watching him live, I could see what you were talking about. Like he's one of those players where most guys watching at home, their team will have someone like him who you all know is really good, but the rest of the world isn't that, you know, clued up on. Yeah. I think Blake Martinez, for example, for the Packers is in that type of mould, and you know, Yannick Ngakoue for the Jags, for example, doesn't get the credit. And if Kendricks was like that, he was just, again, fundamentally sound football, and you can see why this Vikings team is going to be really, really good in January, because it's going to be so hard to score points on, and provided whoever's playing quarterback, I imagine by then it'll be Teddy Bridgewater, can just manage the offense and not make stupid errors, then there's a chance that everyone's going to struggle to score 20, and then you've got a chance.
I think the issue for the Vikings at the moment is getting that running game going, isn't it, Jonathan?
It is, yeah.
You know, we've seen Murray get more attempts over the last few weeks and stuff. McKinnon had a decent game at the weekend, just gone. But when you're weak at the quarterback position and your running game's not brilliant either, you are relying on that defense.
You are, and like eventually you'll get caught out playing that style. Like if you don't have either or, like a quarterback for me is just the key position. Well, obviously it's the key position, but very much so in your team, because you're only missing that little extra couple of percent from being a bloody hard, difficult team to beat and potentially going that next level. You really are that close, because that defence is so sound, and you just need a bit more. And like it's going to be so difficult, as you said, to score against you. So it's just that if you sort of quarterback and get a half decent running game going, very, very hard to stop.
And that's it. And I think that's what this Vikings side is at the start of its cycle almost. I think, you know, 2-3 years down the line, this could be one of the teams in the NFL. I mean, Dalvin Cook will be back, hopefully, running the ball. If we get that quarterback, we'll get Bridgewater back to the level.
You just need that's the issue, and you need to find out who. You've got 3 good options, but no one knows who. They've all got their ridiculously fundamental flaws, and that's the thing, isn't it, where Case Keenum's a good backup quarterback. Most teams will have him as a backup, and he's third choice in Minnesota, and yet, you know, Bradford's got the knee issue, and that's gone quiet. Who knows where that is? And then obviously Bridgewater's got the knee issue as well coming back. So, but I up close and personal, I was really, really impressed. Just again, I keep going back to it, but just sound defense. Everything was like everyone was where they should have been, when they should have been. There were very few missed tackles, very few mistakes, and like I say, bar one big bomb down the sideline, the secondary was magnificent as well.
Okay, well, we'll move on then to a game that was completely different. A free scoring game of football. There's Houston 38, Seattle 41. They win it with a minute and a half, I think it is.
No, it was like 20 seconds.
Was it last 20 seconds to go? Two quarterbacks who very similar in a lot of ways, actually. I think, you know, Watson goes into this game as the most running yards from a quarterback this season. We all know Seattle's quarterback can do exactly the same. He's absolutely magic and stuff. And Jonathan, you know, Deshaun Watson starts this game with a bomb.
He does. He starts with a bomb. It's like you usually expect those Hail Marys. It almost was a Hail Mary, right? You expected in the last couple of seconds, not at the opening of the game. It was just, I thoroughly enjoyed this game. It was like we talk about the Vikings defense, etc. This was complete other end of the spectrum altogether. This was just mad offense. Like I think the two quarterbacks, 1,000 yards between them. Like that's just mental. Like if you get one quarterback that's, you know, having a great day, getting 400 or 500, you're thinking, okay,
they've won that game.
Yeah, there you go. But to have two in the same day, like it doesn't say much for the defense. But from a neutral, it was probably one of the most enjoyable games as a neutral I've watched in a long time. It really was that good. One of the best games in the year so far.
A lot of people love college football for this reason, where, you know, high scorer and blah blah. And I'm not a huge fan of it. I watch it obviously, but because I like seeing a bit of defense. But at times you've just got to sit in the mire, and sometimes it's just the offense is too good. I don't think there was, especially from the Seattle defensive point of view, there wasn't terrible errors. It was just good play. And
you saw Sherman getting beat a lot, but then he steps up towards the end, doesn't he?
And like I say, Hopkins just catches everything. If you give him a chance, he goes up and gets it. He could be covered by 3-4 fellas. It doesn't matter. He high punches the ball. He's so strong and athletic. He's never open. He doesn't need to be open. And like I remember saying I had serious questions about Deshaun Watson in terms of accuracy, and his decision making at times in college, and that's why I wasn't massive on anyone taking him so high. But if you look at him now, he's just unbelievable. He just looks like Russell Wilson, but he's better now than Russell Wilson was at the same time of his career. I think there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think Russell Wilson relied much more heavily on the run, didn't he?
Yeah,
and that was great for his development as a quarterback, and then he became to be the leader on that side, of course. But Deshaun Watson's the leader of this side on the offensive side of the ball already. I think there's probably the difference between the two on the day, and why Seattle end up winning this game is the interceptions. You know, Deshaun Watson throws 4 touchdowns but with 3 interceptions, and Russell Wilson throws 4 touchdowns with just 1 interception.
Yeah, to be fair to Watson, at the end of the game, he gets an interception with the last play because he's just trying to do something. Yeah. But I agree. At the other couple of times, this is where we're at with Watson now, and listen, you'll take this every time as a Texans fan. It's 10 great plays and then 2 absolute stinkers. But again, he's a rookie, and you'll take that every time.
Isn't he?
Haven't gone through what they've gone through. They've never had a quarterback. They've had Matt Sharp as their best ever quarterback, and all the best with that. So you'll take it every time, but that is the difference in really, really close games. That might cost you, but my goodness, they found their franchise quarterback now. Now's the chance to go and build around it.
Let's talk about some wide receivers then. I think you mentioned...
Can I tell you very quickly? I think on Wilson, I thought he was unbelievable. For as good as Watson was, Wilson was better. He was the only reason Seattle were in that game, I think, give or take, because they had no running game whatsoever. They had no offensive line to work from. Yeah. And Russell Wilson, it was just absolute magic all game. Yeah,
and Jonathan, the wide receivers, we got Hopkins there, 224 yards, 1 touchdown. Fuller, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 59-yard touchdown was his longest. These guys were on fire.
They were, and it just goes back to the point I made at the start, is like there was series yards being made left, right and centre there, which all added to the whole entertainment of the game, and it was one of the reasons why it was so open. The one thing that got me in the first half there as well was Earl Thomas. You know, he did one of the most aggressive safety pass defenses I've seen, where he literally just stomped out and drove forward with the ball, and I think they ended up getting a touchdown off it as well. You know, just things like that. It was one of those kind of weird mental games, if you know what I mean, where just flashes of brilliance then mixed with crazy mistakes. And I think, you know, Watson kind of sums up the game for me the way he was. Some brilliant, and then just the rawness really of him, and the little bit of flutters at the end.
And the wide receivers for the Seattle Seahawks, I mean, Lockett will draw the applaud for 121 yards, but for me, it's Richardson making big plays when he has to make big plays, and he goes for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and like I say, a lot of that is the broken down plays where Russell Wilson's scrambling and he gets himself open and stuff. And Jimmy Graham as well, to be fair, got himself 2 touchdowns as well. Obviously the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, it's too easy, that.
I mean, by then I think the defense is just gone. It's just he just walked in. I mean,
just crazy.
I think Russell Wilson might have been able to run that one in if he chose to as well. Yeah, by then I think Houston's just gone. And that, I was going to come on to that now, I might as well move on to the end of the game, is that it's the second time where Houston have had a chance to beat a really big team when their quarterback's been on fire and they've chose to go ultra conservative. So a few weeks ago, there was a second or third game of the season, they played New England and it's 3rd and 1 and they run Lamar Miller up the middle and he gets stuffed and he punts, and then Tom Brady comes back on them and, you know, delivers the throw. I think at the time that was to Brandon Cooks, and in this game it's the exact same. It's 3rd and 2. Your quarterback's thrown for like 380 odd yards. He's had 60 odd yards on the ground or something, and you run Lamar Miller up the middle again and gets stuffed. I was thinking, why doesn't Bill O'Brien in that situation just say to Deshaun Watson, the ball's in your hands and it's 2 yards. Do us a favour, mate, just don't throw an interception. So either give someone a chance to make a catch, throw it to DeAndre Hopkins, or get it with your legs. And he probably would have been able to. They got ultra conservative. They panicked a little bit, didn't they? And then they thought, well, we'll put this on our defence. And as good as their front seven is and has been, the secondary is not playing well at all. It's beat up. There's guys missing, and there was just, it was carnage. And I just thought that's two calls in massive games against really, really top teams, where Bill O'Brien is probably thinking, I wish I could have that back, because I don't know. I'm not sure why you would want to run Lamar Miller, especially the second time. Having seen it not work against New England, to then try and do it against Seattle, I don't understand that call, if I'm honest. But again, it was just an unbelievable game.
Okay, well, let's go to Pittsburgh beating the Detroit Lions 20-15. I called this one on the Lions last week, and then I changed my mind when I was doing my pick'em. I did go Pittsburgh, and I'm glad that I did, because I had a good week. Jonathan, what did you make of this game?
Oh, if I thought the last game was one of the best, this was one of the worst. This was just a game littered with errors, you know, so many missed third downs, missed field goals. It was just horrible. Even watching back on the highlights, it was a churn watching back on it. It was just, you know, talk about the other end of the spectrum altogether. It really was a horrible, crappy game. I wish I could glass it up, but there really isn't.
And it seems like the 5 trips to the red zone with no touchdowns really hurt the Lions.
Go figure.
Jesus.
Yeah, who'd have thought that? The Lions were good up till the last 20, even like the last 10, because if you look at their receiving core, so, you know, Marvin Jones and TJ Jones, I think it is, isn't it, the 2 Jones lads, and they were, and Golden Tate.
Is that one of the lads come over from Cincinnati?
Marvin Jones, yeah. And then obviously they got TJ Jones, and then they have Golden Tate, and they're like, I don't know, possession receivers, like they'll run a lot of slants, but there's no big body red zone target. Unfortunately for those guys, that's what Eric Ebron should be, and he just isn't. He just hasn't been. He's been a bust, hasn't he? He has been a bust for a draft pick when the stock they put in him. So they get inside the 1 yard line, and they have 4 goes, for example, and can't get a touchdown. There's no power runner whatsoever. No, it's Amir Abdullah, isn't it? He could be I don't know. He's got skills, but he couldn't get him in the end zone from a yard, and it's like that is the key difference. This game should have been 40-20 to Detroit or something like that, because they dominated up until the red zone. Interestingly enough, when they're in the red zone, the Steelers have got this. They rush 3 and they drop 8, and they just basically say, you know, there's going to be no space for you guys to pass on us. And even that with 3. They were getting to Matt Stafford with 3 because the line, Detroit's line was struggling. So I can see why they were struggling, because, you know, there's 8 guys, there's no space to work in, but that's where they missed that one big body. You can just, your Hopkins or your, you know, your big Jimmy Graham or your Gronkowski or whoever, Julio Jones. It doesn't have to be someone that good. Other teams have got them. The Packers use, whether it's, you know, sometimes it was Richard Rodgers for a year, and he got loads of touchdowns because he's just a big body you can box out. And unfortunately for Detroit, they've just got nothing. And Jonathan, what about the Steelers? What did you make of their offense in this game? Because it's been up and down all season long.
Yeah, it was up and down, and it just reflected the way the game was. You know, another day they're hitting big scores there.
I mean, Haywood Bay drops one in the end zone.
There was so many times, like it was one of those. You're watching back the highlights and you're almost screaming at it. You know, what are you doing? You know, and that there was so many times where there's, you know, almost an interception, it's dropped. There's a pass that's almost completed, it's incompleted. You know, it was just...
Yeah, Shazier at the end stands out. I mean, it should have been intercepted. It didn't matter because it was fourth down.
And that was just a reflection of where the game was. I think the Steelers, you know, at home, they're very, very difficult to beat. And I think they'll be pretty solid for the rest of the campaign. But, you know, yesterday was just, you know, you just put it down to one of those days. I know it's an old big cliche, but that's the way the game was.
What do you make of Juju Smith-Schuster? Wow, that's hard to say.
Yeah, it is a mouthful. I'm glad you said it first, so I can say, yeah, he has a serious talent on him. He did some brilliant things, some not so good things. He's raw. He's very much raw, I think, but I think he has something to him, and he could be one of the big players in the league. I think he that raw, like was a 97-yard touchdown he got there where he just did, and in a game that's littered by errors, like that's huge. That's big in any game, but especially a game that has so many crappy little errors in it. Yeah, a mixed bag, would say, but definitely he has that golden touch.
He reminds me a little bit of early Randall Cobb with the Green Bay Packers, in that I don't think he's ever going to completely blow by anybody, but he's very good in the middle of the field. He's a bit more physical than Randall Cobb. He's a bigger guy and stuff. But he looks like he's comfortable in the middle of the field, which is rare for young wide receivers, because that's a scary place to be. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's where safeties and linebackers, smash your face in, and he looks comfortable in there. He doesn't look like he'll go over the middle. He's happy to make those routes because they've got Antonio Brown being Antonio Brown on one end. They've got Lev Bell, so they're fine. And now they had Bryant, but Bryant wasn't delivering. But so now with Smith-Schuster, who should get a lot of single coverage, obviously, because everyone's going to be focused on Brown and Bell, and obviously so. He'll go over the middle and he'll put his head where it hurts. He'll get his hands in there, and like I say, he isn't the most gifted athlete in the world, but he's got, I don't know whether you can, it's like a determination about him where you just think.
So he reminds me of Anquan Bolden.
Yeah, to an extent.
I think he's faster. I think he's got more raw, raw physical talent than Anquan Boldin. But you know, one of those guys who is comfortable catching the ball in the middle of the field, as you've already mentioned there. But he is much faster. I mean, you just have to look at that 97-yard touchdown. Yeah. There's 3 guys chasing him, and they're not slow guys, but they don't catch him. So I think he might have like.
He's got a burst.
He's got a little bit of something.
I like him. I think he's a good.
I think he is as well. I think he's going to be could potentially be one of the stars in the league, because if he does manage to keep alongside Antonio Brown, like that, the thing for the Steelers with him for me is he might want to go somewhere and be a number 1, and that would be fair enough if he continues to do it. I'm not sure he's at that level, but he can be a star because he's playing alongside Antonio Brown, and maybe these guys, Bryant, if you're listening, which you won't be, should accept that role sometimes to play alongside someone, because you'll definitely pump your numbers up.
Yeah.
So we'll move on then to the Dallas Cowboys beating the Washington Redskins by 33 points to 19. Stay. Yeah. This was another game littered with just terrible mistakes.
Yeah, and that was I think it was the weather, wasn't it? It was like it was an absolute downpour over on the East Coast. A lot of the games we're going to speak about later were rain affected. In the end, mate, there's a saying in football, you know, John, it's next man up. But you get to a point where there's just no next man, where the next man is absolute dog shit. And that's where Washington are with their offensive line now. You can't afford to have like 4 offensive line injuries. There are enough good starting offensive linemen across the league. You know, every team hasn't got 5. So if you're onto your 8th or 9th choice offensive line, you've got no chance. And unfortunately for them, that was the story of the game for me, is that injuries have decimated Washington to a point where they are no longer competitive. Unless they, you know,
at the line.
And even, you know, the tight end goes down. I think they have injuries at wide receiver. They just at a point now where they haven't got enough players left, and that's where they are and stuff. And it was a shame, because I was looking forward to this game. I thought Washington were going. I picked Washington to win. Hindsight, if I knew that 3 offensive linemen were starting, and one was going to get injured, I would never have done it.
And what did you think of that Dallas then, Jonathan?
It was weird. I thought for the first half, I thought Washington dominated the game, and there should have been a lot more in the lead. And then there was a touchdown just in the third quarter. I think it was the third quarter.
Right at the end.
They
blocked the field goal.
That was it. And then at 14-13, and you're like, all that hard work is pretty much a whole half of hard work was just undone on the spot. And you know, that mixed with the injuries, as you said there, Chris, you know, they're just doomed. Their heads were gone. But they definitely should have been a lot more in the lead. And you know, considering everything that they've had going on, it was a decent performance.
Yeah, I agree.
Lance Kendricks, I think, is the guy who runs the field goal back in the end, doesn't he? Am I right in saying that? I can't remember exactly.
And then Zeke mops it up.
Yeah, so he gets to the 2-yard line. There's a penalty on it as well, on the holder, I think it is.
Yeah.
And then they go to the 1-yard line. So Kendricks is the guy that runs probably 70 yards. I mean, to be fair, he shouldn't have even got that far. He ran through 4 tackles on about the 20-yard line.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And that isn't in and of itself. I know that they're not in there for that most of the time, that their job is to protect at the line and stuff like that. But again, that kind of was the story of the game for Washington for me. Just too many errors. How many times the ball was even just flicked back to Cousins and he'd miss it. And you know, line injuries obviously going to be massive in this, but we mentioned it earlier when we were talking about the Vikings, Steve. You know, when you are down to your 8th and 9th players in the rotation, you've got to play sound football, and they weren't even able to do that.
Yeah, I think in the end it just gone, and like I say, the 2 wide receivers are Doxson and Pryor. Pryor doesn't have a catch, I don't think. Doxson has 1 catch for the touchdown from like a couple of yards out and stuff. And like it was, I don't know. I think it's really hard to bash Kirk Cousins too much about this, because he was just under pressure all day. He just didn't have a chance, and he's not the best quarterback in the world anyway. He's someone who, if you keep him clean, he'll help you win a game. If you give him a running game, give him a defense, and keep him clean, he'll be absolutely fine. He'll be above average. But if he hasn't got that, then he's going to be in trouble anyway. And then you start just stripping things away. His receivers aren't getting open, and obviously he's getting pressured. The weather's crap, there's no run game, and all of a sudden it kind of exposes him for what he is, which is a average quarterback, which is fine. You can win with average, but you can also lose a lot with average, and that's where we got to.
Okay, so before we move on to the spin around the league, we are going to look at the pick'em, because I always forget, because they're always on this page of my notes. So this week I went 12-1, which I'm made up with. That's the best I've done. Steve and Geno both went 11-2. Did you do pick'em?
I did. No, I must start with you guys.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. Shout out to Lee Reynolds though, who went 13-0.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive. So the one I got wrong was the Dolphins-Ravens game.
Spectacularly wrong.
Spectacularly wrong. Couldn't have got it more wrong.
That's the wrongest anyone's ever been.
Yeah. Lee
Really
called
double.
that. And so Lee is now top of the group, first player to break 1,000 points. Harshall, our old mate Harshall, is in second, and I'm third in the cover 2 pick'em. Now, lads, we've got Jonathan in here, so we're going to do...
I've been practicing this for ages.
Go on.
The spin around the league.
Yeah. It's catching on. Someone tweeted me about it.
Geno's definitely not coming back. So sorry, Geno. I actually really love you.
I want him back. He can edit the
He's
video.
grown on me as well, Geno. Okay, we're going to start off. Chargers 13, New England 21. Jonathan, what was the story on this one?
You know, it's a game I haven't watched that much, but you know, the usual, what we expected came towards in the end, didn't it really?
And what about you, Steve? Did you have the Chargers in this one, or did you have
No,
New England at home?
Yeah, New England at home. It was more a case of...
What happened with the punt?
Yeah, I was going to say, Benjamin has a punt and he runs backwards 10 yards into his own end zone, gets tackled, gives safety away, and they boot it and they score a field goal. So you take a possession off the Chargers and then you've got the 5-point swing, and that was it. And both teams were stifled. Both defenses actually played pretty well, I thought. Although the Chargers' run game got going on New England, they missed Dante Hightower. You can tell they're going to miss him going forward. But yeah, we're at a point now where New England aren't playing particularly well, and yet they're still winning games. They're going to be fine because that's what they do.
Okay, Saints continue their good run of form by beating the Chicago Bears 20-12. This Saints side are on a bit of a roll, aren't they?
They've got a very good defence.
Flying.
Which is mad.
They've got a very, very good defence.
I went so mad at Sean Payton at the start of this season, but the likes of Cam Jordan is absolutely stepping up. Is it Shapiro?
Yeah, and then they've got and Marshawn Lattimore corner.
Oh, Marshawn
So if you
Lattimore
get yourself a corner, get yourself a pass rusher, and it's amazing where you can get up to and stuff. And that, yeah, they're playing, and obviously Alvin Kamara. So they've got 2 draft picks there have just completely transformed their team. They are now a very much a run-based team. Kamara can split out wide, he goes in the slot at times.
And they maybe have stumbled into this because obviously they had Peterson there at the start of the season. So, but you've got to give credit to Sean Payton regardless, because he was always going to get that working at some point. The big thing for me is getting that defence rolling, but also, we've not spoken about it much this season. I'm completely wrong on this. Jonathan, I thought that Cooks deal would really hurt the Saints, and it absolutely hasn't.
No, it's been completely the opposite, really, hasn't it?
They took Ramczyk with the pick, and he's had to play because there's been injuries, and he's been great on the line. So both teams, one of those trades where it looked like both teams ended up winning, which was odd because they made that trade to try and get a defender. They wanted Reuben Foster. They got upset by the 49ers, took a tackle, and he comes in and plays. And it's one of those where sometimes you're better getting the guy you didn't want than the guy you wanted. Ask the Cowboys, because they wanted Connor Cook, and now they've got Dak Prescott. You know, so it's mad how that things like that work. But the Saints look really, really good. Yeah,
okay, well, Atlanta Falcons 25, New York 20, Jonathan. Falcons get a win.
They do.
Again.
They do, but it's New York, isn't it? Like, what can you say, really?
Where are you on the Falcons at the moment?
I don't know, it's just a mixed bag with them, really, isn't it?
Something's off. I don't know, I can't get...
Super Bowl hangover real?
I'd say so. You know, it's very hard to put your finger on it. It really is.
They can't run. They don't run. The play calling's odd. I said this last week. They've gone away far too much from what they were working on last year because coaches come in and coaches want to show, I'm the coach, I can do this, I can do that. And what was working was working. It's just at the end of the day, they win a game. They are a really tough game in tough weather conditions. And to be fair to the Jets are competitive, which we didn't think they would be, so go fair play to them, but they just can't hold a lead. No. And at some stage, I think they've won enough games for the coach to be fine. That's the first thing, because he didn't expect any wins. So to get a few wins, he's probably not going to get sacked. But I'm not convinced by Atlanta yet.
Okay, we'll move on then. Buffalo Bills 34, Oakland Raiders 14.
I am convinced about these.
You are convinced that Buffalo Bills are it?
I really like the Bills. I think they're really... For such a team with very few stars, and I say it every single week, they are just amazingly well coached. They're sound as anyone in the league. They just don't make mistakes and they let you kill yourself. And they've got LaShawn McCoy going 2 weeks on a run now, and I don't know where you rate him as a running back, but I think he's one of the best.
I do. They're one of my guilty pleasures almost to watch because they're that sort of team. You know, you look at them and, you know, these shouldn't be good. This shouldn't be happening, but they're so effective. And I've got quite to enjoy watching them quite a lot. The Raiders are just... I know I was lucky enough to see them live. They played. I was last year over in Jacksonville, and like they smashed us to bits. Now any team could have done that, but I was really impressed with them. And to see the way they fall. I know they have a lot of other issues off the pitch or whatever, but to see them just fall away, it's strange. It's just the way the cycles go.
They've got no defense.
Okay, Monday night game: Kansas City 29, Denver 19. It's the story of this one.
So it's been shit.
Next.
I liked them for the start of this year, but I watched the 40-minute version of this morning. There's talk that they're going to bench him for Brock Osweiler, so that's all you need to know. The Chiefs weren't great, but they were good enough. And like I say, they got a couple of big plays early, a couple of great strip fumble by Peters on Jamal Charles, where he's getting held up and Peters literally just takes the ball off him and runs it back in. And so the big players, the Peters, the Kelseys, the Hills all come to play. And Denver just didn't have nothing going for them. Like I say, Trevi Simeon, for a guy who, he's very much a crap Kirk Cousins in that if everything's right, he'll be fine, but start taking things away like he's got now, and you just see that's why he was a 7th round pick.
Okay, we'll move on then, Jonathan. Indianapolis 23, Cincinnati 24. What struck you about this one?
The Colts, mate. The Colts.
It has to be.
I feel sorry for their fans because they're just terrible. They have a chance to win.
Is the house that Peyton built crumbling down?
It's under renovation, isn't it?
Planning permission and
and Andrew Luck isn't playing, so that's
and he shouldn't play for the rest of the season.
Yeah, forget him now. If I was the Bengals, I'd be concerned that it was this close and that it took a pick 6 from a defensive lineman to win you a game. But yeah, the Colts are garbage. I mean, they might be the worst team in the league.
Okay, Philadelphia 33, San Francisco 10.
They might be the best team in the league.
Philadelphia are looking great at the moment.
Absolutely flying. You know, I've a mate that's a fan of theirs, and he's just doing my head in every week. They genuinely looks like there's no stopping them. I really can't see it happening.
The best team in the league at the minute.
Just miles ahead of everyone else. Miles ahead.
Carson Wentz, we all know how good he's been. He was good again last night. San Francisco poor offensively, but you know what? You could turn that around over the next couple of weeks. Just got a bit of JBG. Will be coming in, so we'll be talking about that on the preview show tomorrow.
Very quickly though, what I would say is that you noticed the loss of Jason Peters. Yeah. The San Francisco 49ers front was getting pressure on Carson Wentz. It was just that, you know, the team's not good enough.
What did they do? Did they move the right tackle over to the left?
Yeah, so that's where we're at now, and it's like, it's fine, it'll work, but that's a good, decent front seven. I'd like to see now, when the Eagles play against a really, really, really good pass rush, how will they cope? Because the injuries, again, everyone's got the injury bug, but that's a significant one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, not too much on the Miami-Baltimore game, because, you know, Miami were just crap. But 40 points. I did not see the Ravens scoring 40 points.
No, but yeah, it just sums up how crap they were, Miami, wasn't it?
And Ryan
Ajayi's been traded from the Dolphins as well, so it's next man up for them at running back.
Ryan Mallett was throwing touchdown plays. It was bizarre. Joe Flacco got absolutely creamed in this game. He got absolutely smashed out of his head. Didn't know what day it was, which I shouldn't laugh, but no. I am laughing anyway. And then, it was again the Dolphins, man. This is the third game now where they've had 2 zeros, and they've had a game where they scored a touchdown with the last play of the game to get 6, and then they missed the point extra, which was, their offense is just absolutely flawed. And we all thought, well, Matt Moore might come in and give them a spark because Cutler's been crap and Matt Moore was just the same. Mm-hmm. They look like a team that is just treading water at the minute, which is a shame because they have invested in players, because the Dolphins always do. And again, it looks like they're in a situation where they're considering blowing up, which is a shame. And
final game of the week to cover, Carolina Panthers 17, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3. What happened in this one?
Yeah, Luke Kuechly's good, isn't he?
He's amazing.
He just, again, touchdown return was albeit a simple one. The Bucs are the most disappointing team in the league for me. In terms of what I thought they were going to be, come to what they are, 3 points.
It's terrible,
it's mad, and Jameis didn't play well. They had no run game, which I thought they would have with Doug Martin.
They just don't seem to be using Doug Martin enough over the last few weeks.
They are highly disappointing.
There's a lot of hype that goes with being featured on Hard Knocks as well, though, isn't there? I mean, you get to see inside one locker room, so you it's almost like it's a because the focus is just on them, you buy into them, and you almost believe the hype that the coaches are feeding them, because the coaches have to build these guys up, do you know what I mean, before the season starts, and you feel that as well. So to go through the hard knocks and you think, oh wow, they're going to be like there, to see them like this season's disappointing.
Yeah, for sure. And the Panthers weren't great, but they didn't need to be great. They are very, very good on defense, and they lost, didn't they, to the Bears and stuff, and people were like, heads fell off and stuff, but that was on the offense. They were 2 return, 75-yard returns. Their defense is quietly keeping everyone really, really. They kept the Bears quiet, obviously not the greatest team. They kept the Bucks quiet. They've kept other teams, relatively low scores. If Cam can just improve a little bit, then they've got a very good chance, because come January they've got the defense that'll help you win. They just need to get the run game sorted, because they're just not getting anything out of McCaffrey and Stewart at the moment. Okay,
well there you go. That is our roundup for week 8 of the NFL season. Obviously there's one other thing that I have to do, and that is to wish you all a happy Halloween, because I know that Americans absolutely buzz on Halloween. It's not something that I really get into. You're going to a Halloween party now. What are you dressing up as?
I'm going to dress up as nothing. I'm just going to go as me and be terrifying.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah, this just will scare enough people. I am taking my son to go and knock at people's houses for sweets.
Nice. Let's hope you don't see a Savile opening up one of them doors like the story we heard on Sunday.
That's fine, yeah, let's hope that.
Imagine dressing up as Jimmy Savile in a latex mask on Halloween and offering kids sweets. That
happened.
That's a strange buzz, isn't it?
That happened, that definitely, but yeah, I hope not.
Okay, well there you go. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Cover 2 TV on YouTube, check us out on Twitter and Facebook, and we'll see you all next time. And Jonathan, thanks very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. And Jeno, if you've watched this far into the video,
there's the bar.
I was gonna say I missed you.
So many misses.
But I'm not gonna argue this.